Well, it is finally here. It feels so weird to say that Zack Snyder's Justice League, after nearly 4 years of fans demanding for them to release the Snyder Cut, the Snyder Cut is finally here. 4 hours, uncensored, R-rated is finally here, and I just finished watching all 4 hours of it. What do I think about it? Let's talk about it. I was hearing some great things, surprisingly, about the Snyder Cut. And coming out of this film, I can gladly say that I loved this film. I really did. And that's coming from somebody who doesn't really like 2017 Justice League at all. Thinks Man of Steel is okay at best, and thinks Batman vs Superman is really good, but has some really big problems. Going into this film, I was so worried. I was so skeptical, because this film had so much writing on it. If this film wasn't good, I think fans would be just flabbergasted if this film wasn't good. Because this film had so much build-up. It had so much anticipation. So much was writing on this film to be great. Not just to be good, but to be great. And I just gotta say, I am so happy to say that I thought this film wasn't perfect. No. Really good? Yes. And I think people can kind of look at this film and say, well, of course you're gonna like it. Is that really fair, though? I went into this film thinking I would probably appreciate it that Zack Snyder got his vision out, because I'm always about filmmakers getting their vision out. Always. I will always be up for that. But I wasn't expecting to love this film like I did. And there's so much to talk about, so much to unravel about this film, and I'm going to try to put it into a condensed review that's not 55 hours long. And I'm going to be doing a non-spoiler review, and then in a couple days we'll be doing a massive spoiler review where we get to talk about all the nips and knobs and little details and little nods. So that's that. Alright, where do we even start? Let's talk about the characters. I kind of want to talk about Steppenwolf first. Let's talk about Steppenwolf first. In the 2017 Justice League, he was this bland, hollow villain with a terrible redesign, terrible voice, the simplest of simplest motives. And why? The Steppenwolf has the same motives. The design is completely fixed back to the design we had in the extended cut of BVS. His voice is really, it's improved. He doesn't sound like a dying old man, and he's not complaining about the Unity all the time. But the motivation and the backstory especially, we actually get to know some backstory about this character. He's not just this big bad guy. And with having 4 hours and 4 minutes to be precise, of material to work with, you can almost feel this character being great. And he is. Why he's not the most in-depth villain, and he's still not amazing. He's so much more better than that hodgepodge Frankenstein that we got back in 2017. Let's talk about some new characters that I didn't really like in 2017's Justice League, like Cyborg. When Zack Snyder said the heart of this film would be Cyborg, I wasn't really excited about that, because Cyborg, like most people, he was my least favorite member on the team. And now I can say that I'm so happy that I can say that he's great. We don't get just to know more about him because it's longer. Zack Snyder knew he had to spend the most time on the character that is one of the most least popular. We knew we got some Flash fans, Batman fans, Wonder Woman fans, of course Superman fans, and a bit of Aquaman fans. But really, a Cyborg fan, they exist, but there's not that much of it. So Zack Snyder knew he had to make Cyborg the heart of this film and make you care about him. And without spoiling anything, you know so much about this character. So much. of this character through the way he acts, through the way he feels. We learn so much more about him mentally, physically. We learn so much more about his family in this film, which I love. And also, the Flash got improved a bit. I still think there's a bit too many jokes of the Flash, and why Ezra Miller would not be my go-to choice for the character. We still got to learn so much more about him. And like we see in the trailer, the whole sequence with Iris is a very beautiful, really gorgeous scene that I thoroughly enjoyed the overall experience of that scene. And this is a fun character. He's good comic relief. Why some of the jokes I didn't like in the original cut is still present here. I still enjoyed a lot of the moments here. Aquaman is also really good. Nothing of his characters really changed. He's more serious, but still really fun. Wonder Woman has a completely different point of view of just everything, and she's a really great character still. I will get to more about what her different opinion on is in the spoiler talk. Ben Affleck's Batman is the Ben Affleck Batman we knew from BVS. A bit more jokey, a bit more quippy, but it makes sense. It's a good progression. It's not Tony Stark, quippy, witty, Whedon banter and dialogue that we saw in the 2017 Justice League film. He's actually a character. He does not have stupid one-lines, and the suit actually looks really cool. Henry Cavill's Superman. His lip looks great. His lips looks pristine condition. A+, best movie, 10 out of 10. But in all seriousness, Henry Cavill was really great in Justice League, and this is the best he's ever been as Superman in the Justice League films. But it wasn't just the lip thing that really made that performance really bad. It was just they cut a really great sequence, which I'm not going to spoil, between him and Lois. That I don't know why they cut. I don't know why they cut anything, but it's just such a beautiful, important moment. It's such a Zack Snyder moment. What I love so much about this film is it can breathe. Yes, obviously it's 4 hours long, but it can breathe. It's a film that takes its time to develop its characters, to set its tone, to give really great action sequences, which, by the way, the action sequences are extremely exciting, extremely well edited, and the visual effects, besides one or two visuals I thought could have been better, for the most part, visuals are great. And besides the third act, which at times you can lose sight of some of the things that are happening and kind of get jumbled with all these explosions and just CGI, for the most part, it does a really good job of keeping you in the action. So the action's great, but I love that this film is more mature than I think people would realize. Yes, it's R-rated and there's violence and extra violences and swearing, but whatever. But the way this film moves is not like any other comic book film. People have used comparisons to like maybe Endgame or Return of the King or something like that. And why those are good comparisons, I wouldn't say those are the absolute best comparisons. Let me explain. This film is completely different from Return of the King and Avengers Endgame for one specific reason, which I'll get into right now. This movie breathes. Return of the King has to go at a pretty brisk pace. It's so long, and Avengers Endgame has to go at a pretty brisk pace because it's in the cinema. This film didn't have to do that. It's 4 hours. It's on HBO Max. You can get up, go down, pause, whatever. It did not have to speed up anything. And it doesn't. This film does not speed up anything. There's so many moments in this film. By the time you get to the finale, it's so rewarding because they took their time to tell the story that Warner Brothers should have let somebody finish. They should have got Joss Whedon just to finish the couple of scenes. I'm going to go briefly about the backstory of this film, just briefly. Okay, Zack Snyder made this, he made maybe 80% of the film. 80%. He just needed a couple more scenes to film to fully finish the film. But then his then his daughter committed suicide, so he had to just step off. So they got Joss Whedon. Snyder thinking they're going to finish the couple of scenes. But no, he films about an hour more footage and just completely botches the film and puts it down to a barely 2-hour runtime. They took 2 hours of film and just threw out the window. They made this hodgepodge Frankenstein of a film. This is what happens when you let a film breathe. Would the 4-hour cut be what they released in the cinema? No. There is about I think there's a 3.5-hour cut out there. Like Zack Snyder was talking about a 3-hour cut, 3.5-hour cut, sorry. And I think that's what they would have released in cinemas. A 3.5-hour cut, and then have an extended cut of bringing in 30 more minutes. Is this film too long? I don't know. Okay, if this film was in cinemas, I think 4 hours would be too long. But since this film is at home, on a streaming service, I don't think it's too long. And the reason why I say it is because I like the slow pace of this film. I do. And yes, I understand some people's complaint that it's sometimes too long where you can kind of lose track of what's going on unless you're fully, 100% paying attention. But I've talked about this in the past. Is that a bad thing for directors and studios to accept and wanting an audience to pay attention? No. It's not. It's not. Because you're buying a ticket, right? You're buying a ticket to see a filmmaker's vision. To see a filmmaker put their blood and tears into this project, in terms of this film, literally. And you're doing your phone, talking throughout the film. Oh crap, what's this character? Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Is it wrong for studios to want audiences to pay attention? No, it's not. A 4-hour cut that you have to be very engaged by? A superhero film that you have to be fully intent by and is 4 hours long? And you can't just get up and get up, leave it playing, and then come back and know exactly what's going on? What? What is the world coming to? I feel like audiences have been so comfortable of just running their brain and basically just turning it off while watching a film. And some films you can do that. I'm not dissing just fun popcorn films. And why Zack Snyder's film is not an Oscar film. It is not a piece of art. But should you still pay attention? Yes. You should. In my opinion, you definitely should. Okay, let's talk about the aspect ratio. I got off on a tangent. I was originally being like, really? Okay, that's what they're going for. But after watching this film, I think this film looks gorgeous. I love the aspect ratio. I really do. This is a gorgeous looking film. The color grade. Oh my word, the color grade. The way this film looks is gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous film. So gorgeous. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, and the way this film is put together. It makes sense now. So many sequences when you're originally watching the 2017 Justice League, you're like, wait, how does that make any sense? Wait, what is this character doing here? What? It makes sense, guys. This film is emotionally impactful. It's long, but it feels needed. There's so many, awesome moments, which we'll talk about in the spoilers discussion, which I can't wait to talk about. The action's great, and by the time you get to the finale, you are so engrossed in these characters. But let's talk about the problems I have with this film. I feel like there's one too many jokes that the Flash makes, and I felt to be most of them not to be funny. I understand if you're gonna make any of these characters of the Justice League the comic relief. Obviously, the Flash is the best person to do this with. I am not dissing, judging, nothing. I understand why they did that. I really do. I understand why they did that. I do. So, but there's one or two times there's too much jokes, and still, why the characters and the team up is still really great and so much better. I still did not feel the connection I 100% wanted to feel with these characters. But overall, guys, I have problems with this film. There's some technical problems, some overall, or some visual effects aren't as good, yada yada, whatever. But at the end, I love this film, and I cannot wait to watch it again. And my score could go up and could go down. I don't see it going down, though. I only see it really going up. This film fixes every single problem I had with the original Justice League, and why it's still not 100% perfect. I still absolutely adored this film, and with great, more in-depth characters explaining so much more of the story, better action, way better action, music, tone. Pay attention in films. I know that was a bit of a tangent, but still, I'm gonna give Zack Snyder's Justice League an A. I know that seems to be pretty high, and I was not expecting to give this film that high of a grade. I was not expecting to love this film as much as I did, but I freaking thoroughly loved this film. So those were my non-spoiler thoughts of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'd love to know my thoughts. If you guys like, hit the like button and subscribe, and that post notification bell is next one. But you can check out my podcast I do every other Tuesday with a friend of mine. It's called the Movie View Podcast. We will be doing an episode on this film, so stay tuned for that in a couple days. You guys can also check out my Instagram at JonesCoDaniels77. Thanks for watching, guys. Now, see you next time. General out.